The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way large groups of people gather. Watching live music or sporting events, even religious ceremonies and festivals, will never be the same. And foreign worker dormitories is definitely on this list. These purpose-built dorms with bunks for between 12 and 20 men and many communal eating and recreation spaces have proven to be a breeding ground for the virus. And until the virus is brought under control here, it will be hard for Singapore to get back to normal.
There's close to 750,000 migrant workers in Singapore. And, if you add S-Pass holders, that adds up to almost 1 million. That's almost 1/5 of our population. And their contributions to Singapore are very valuable. They're in construction, they're in shipyards, they do, the pruning of tall trees, they tar our roads, they build our tunnels. I mean, all of this stuff, right? So, in the situation where we are now with COVID-19, I think, we can all agree that until the workers come out of this crisis, it may be hard for the economy as a whole to open up and go back to what it was.
The pandemic has also highlighted the living conditions of such foreign workers. Under existing regulations, the minimum living space per worker is 4.5 square metres. That's about half the size of an average car park space. Such conditions make social distancing difficult. So as Singapore prepares to transition towards the easing of circuit breaker measures, questions have been asked about what the new normal would look like. Recently, the Securities Investors Association, or SIAS, sent a list of queries to one of the largest listed dormitory players, Centurion.
Centurion made, I think, 76% profit in a very, regulated market, And this is this business in the industry, they have made the best money. So now it's time for Centurion to plow back into the welfare of these workers and the better providing a better environment, better treatment of these workers is now urgent. We do not know how long this pandemic will last. Some may want to do it better. Centurion and the like will have to now re-image, rethink, and provide better facilities.
Centurion runs the Westlight Toguan and Westlight Mandai dormitories, which have been gazetted as isolation areas by the government. Reporting its first quarter results, the company said occupancy was largely not affected by the pandemic, and revenue in the workers' accommodation segment was up by 15% year-on-year. Looking beyond the pandemic, market watchers feel that the sector will rebound in the long run. RHB says it maintains a neutral stance on Centurion.
This is mainly due to the lower occupancy rates across its student and workers' accommodation, and due to the COVID-19, which actually resulted in the global movement restrictions, and that's actually impacted student arrivals to Singapore, as well as construction workers and construction activities. So we actually downgraded our earnings in April, mainly due to these reasons. And the reason why you're maintaining a hold and not a sell is because we think that the long-term prospects for Centurion is still there. There's still a need for workers' dormitories, and there will still be a need for student accommodations.
In its response to questions from SIAS, Centurion said it expects the government and industry to conduct a review of the business model post-COVID-19 and is expecting to see a shift towards purpose-built housing for foreign workers. It added that any improvement of standards and conditions that results will be a good thing, but will require the buy-in and contribution of all stakeholders. Activists say one of the key takeaways of this crisis is to keep the welfare of the foreign workers in mind when developing such dormitories. They have also applauded the way that the government has reached out to the workers during this crisis and hope that they will take an active role in any changes to the dormitory business model.
The government has really gone over and beyond in terms of, their support for the migrant workers. Everything from the PM's statement to the families, when the PM spoke directly to the families of the migrant workers. I think that was very, very powerful. And we know personally that it meant a lot for, the workers who heard it. And I think Singapore will reap the rewards of all of this positive engagement with them in time to come, because migrant workers typically tend to be very, they have a great sense of loyalty.
With many experts saying that COVID-19 is here to stay, having less crowded dorms and spaces for social distancing will likely be the way forward. And this could be a good business opportunity for dormitory players to develop these spaces.
They have been somewhat transparent. They have been forthcoming, which is good, to SIS questions. But there are always investors who are not satisfied. I think we will continue the discussion with Centurion and to be more transparent. I think transparency is something that all listed companies must work on. And only through effective communications, you're going to keep your stakeholders happy and you're going to bring new investors.
They do have a very good track record. And if you've actually been to their dormitories, they have one of the highest standards of workers' dormitories in Singapore. And that is what our government wants. If you look at back then, 5 years ago, the government actually set up certain rules, to increase the standards of workers' dormitories in Singapore, and they fit in right at the top. So if there's a need for more dormitories, then yes, Centurion will likely benefit.